morning on this very wet, windy, blustery, winter-like morning in the middle of April. It is horrible out. It's so windy. And now the rain started and it's dark and it's gloomy, but I've got some lovely bright colours and lovely makes for you today. It's lovely, hopefully, that I am streaming on all channels. I haven't got any Facebook users in at the moment, but I can see some comments, which is really, really nice, because I missed you all last live when I couldn't see your comments. So Linda says, good morning from a very wet and windy Watford. It's a bit of a mouthful. Jan says, good morning, Beaded family from a very wet and windy Sudbury. Good morning to Linda and Jan. I hope you're well. Good morning to Rachel. She says, good morning from a cloudy, windy Barrow. The sun is peeping through, though. It's been awful weather-wise, hasn't it, Linda? Really, really, just, it feels like winter. It's been the longest winter, and I'm missing spring. Good morning to Helen. I hope you're okay as well. So I've got some really nice, colourful jewellery, as I say, for you today. Now, I started off making a very easy, strung beaded necklace because the beads here are just gorgeous. But you're getting so many seed beads, so many spaces, and so many of these beautiful feature beads that I decided I was going to do some bracelets with them as well. And rather than just stringing the bracelets on, we're going to do some little memory wire bracelets as well. So we've got lots to get through today because I was planning on doing it as two separate lives. But then because everything's going to be the same in your kit, I figured we would just squish them all together and I'll just show you very simply how to do little techniques with all of them. Good morning to Star. I hope you're doing well. So while I've got a few of you still coming in, I'm going to take you over to the website and I'm going to show you the kits today. You can do anything you like with these. They're really, really lovely. 3 gorgeous colours to choose from. Of course, you can do a mix if you wish to. And they're just a little bit of fun, and again trying to kind of channel that warmer weather, but I mean right now it looks like it's hailstoning, so it's not worked. Hey, good morning to Trish. Good morning to Camille. She says, very windy here. Did you have a nice weekend? The weekend was okay, shall we say. Yeah, it wasn't too bad, thank you. I'm going to take you over to the website now. So we are on totallybeads.co.uk, as you know, or you should do by now. If you're new to us, I am Natalie, and I do live tutorials along with Kitty and Laura 3 times a week using lots of nice Totally Beads products. So if you head into the video tutorial category, you'll see all the different makes that we've been working on. This is just over the last couple of weeks. The stitch projects, chainmail, bead stringing, wire weaving, all sorts of different things and lots of different projects, whether you want to make a bracelet, earrings, pendants, necklaces. And we'll have some bits and bobs coming up which won't necessarily just be jewellery making. I know Kitty's planning some lovely interior kind of flowers, and I've got a few ideas in mind as well. But today we are doing the Zavia jewellery set. Can't remember why I called it Zavia now. Did have a meaning to it, but it was that long ago I put them together. So you can see we've got 3 lovely colours for you today using the marbled agate. So we've got blue marble agate, green or yellow, and they're going to go with lovely seed beads and little spacers too. Now you're getting so much in your kit today. As I say, if you just want to do a bead strung necklace, you can do that. If you want to make multiple bracelets, you can do that too. So the kits are £5.50 each. They've been reduced. They should be £9.99. We do ship worldwide, so you can change your currency and we can get them out to you wherever you are. So this is the blue set. I'm going to demo the blue necklace for you today. It works exactly the same on whatever it is that what colour you've chosen, and I might do a little bit of a mix on the bracelet. So you can see with the bracelet I'm just making lovely memory wire coils. Now I've used memory wire quite a few times but not used it for a little while, and when I do play about with it I tend to do different kind of structures and shapes. This is your kind of traditional use for it, I suppose, where you've got that lovely coil bangle which can go up your arm and you can make that as full as you like. Really straightforward. It is just stringing them on. I will talk to you a little bit about the tools that you might need for that when we get round to it in a little while. It's basically round nose pliers, but cutters. It's the cutters that you need to make sure you've got some heavy duty cutters, because it is tempered steel. So you want to make sure that you're not using your delicate jewellery like chain nose pliers, because you will put a little dent in it and then you'll wreck and ruin your pliers really. So some nice heavy duty ones. If you haven't got particular wire cutters, I've got a little pair of Beadsmith ones. They do have them on the website, but if you have a little rummage in your toolbox at home, I'm sure you'll probably find something quite suitable. And this is the necklace we're doing today, just on the tiger tail. So as I say, I started off just doing a plain strung necklace, and I think that would look really, really lovely, but I wanted to change it up a little bit. So I've used these kind of like harlequin kind of style kind of points to it. And again, you can play around with that. If you don't want them to be as exaggerated as I've got, you could use smaller ones. You could just maybe use one in the middle. You could do whatever you like. But you're going to get your marble agate beads in this. I'll scroll down and you can see the blue ones. They are 8mm that I'm using. You're getting a very long strand. They're really, really lovely. They've got the most amazing patterns on them because they are marbled. You've got in the blues, you've got a few different tones of blues. You've got some that look like soda light, in the fact you've got that kind of white marbling pattern through it as well. Really, really lovely. I'm also using some 3mm spacer beads. So in the blue colourway, you're going to get the silver coloured ones, and I'm using size 11 Toho seed beads. These are your silver lined frosted rainbow, and I'm using a 0.6 memory wire. You can use a thicker memory wire. I did use, I think it was a 0.8 when I was practicing. I'm putting these together. Your beads, your seed beads, your spacers, and those 8mm marble agate will fit on a thicker memory wire, but I do find using a 0.6 is a little bit easier turning the loop because it is quite a strong metal. So in your kit today, that's what you're going to get. And of course, you're going to get your findings as well. So you're going to get your tiger tail for the stringing. You're going to get your lobster clasp, your culottes, and your crimp beads. There should be jump rings in there as well. So you'll get some 6x1 millimeter jump rings. They'll be in your silver findings colorway to match those little spacer beads, and that will just mean that you'll be able to attach your lovely findings, as in your clasp, to your necklace. You could add a clasp onto the bracelet if you were just doing one loop of that memory wire, but I'm using a coiled effect, so we're just going to turn the ends into little loops, and you could add a charm or whatever you fancy to that. So that is your blue marble agate colorway for £8.50. We've got the gorgeous green as well, so exactly the same technique with that. As I say, you can change your design and your style if you wish to, and we're going to be making a really gorgeous bracelet. It looks a lot more complicated as it is. You can get those kind of marble agate beads to kind of line up or to kind of sit in different patterns. I'm just adding the same amount of spacers on and seed beads in between. So again, everything you need in that kit. You're going to be getting your 8mm green marble agate. I'm using a champagne gold spacers this time. Your memory wire is still going to be silver, but you won't see any of it apart from the little loop at the end. So they'll be covered by the seed beads and the beads. And I think the champagne looks particularly nice with the green. And we've got this lovely kind of seed bead as well, which it does look a little bit more lime green there on that photograph, but when you add them in with the marble agate, it creates kind of a deeper tone. So they are your colours for your green marble agate Zavia jewellery set. And lastly, we've got this gorgeous yellow and gold. Again, all the same components, just in a different colour. This time I'm using the gold plated 3mm spacers. I'm also using the silver lined pale amber, which have got a lovely kind of goldy tone to it, so these really complement each other well. You're getting your yellow, of course, this time on the marble agate, and again your memory wire in your 0.6 is silver, but you won't see it when we cover it with these lovely beads, as you can see here on the bracelet. So what have you been up to, seeing as my comments are working? Let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? Is the weather doing exactly the same where you are as it is here. Yeah, chat to me because I've missed you. Good morning to Catherine. Good morning to Lisa. Hello to Elizabeth. Star saying she loves the colours. Good morning to Pauline. Jan saying the kits are £8.50. What did I say? They are £8.50 for each kit, yeah? They were £9.99 and they've been reduced. So they're £8.50. Let me double check. Yeah, £8.50, and you're making a necklace and a bracelet up in whatever kind of design and style that you want to. Good morning to Mina. Oh, Angela says it's sunny in Forfar. Well, it's really not here, so you must have all the sunshine, Angela. Camille says the yellow agates are very pretty. They do look nice mixed as well. If you want to mix them, you know, you could use all of one colour seed bead, and you could use the different marble agates if you wanted to multi-buy those kits as well. Rowan, good morning to you. Bright day. Rowan says, Camille says she can. I said £5.50, did I? I'm so sorry. They are not £5.50. They are £8.50, but you're getting loads and loads in your kit. Oh, Jan says she's been working on the chenille bracelet. Is it chenille? Chenille? Yeah, that was the one Kitty was doing, wasn't it? Did I? I'm so sorry, Jan. If I have got my prices wrong, go on the website. I don't know where I got that from. Linda said she spent the weekend in the garden planting flowers and sowing some seeds. I desperately need to get the garden done. We were going to mow the lawn, but on Saturday it was very wet still. So though I don't think I'm going to need to pick up many leaves if the wind carries on. They'll be all over the street. Okay, I'm going to take you down onto the mat now, and I will show you these lovely necklaces. Of course, as all jewellery does, they look better on. So I did intend to just do a straight strung necklace like this, and I think that would look really, really lovely. Mina says, Jan, I've also bought the kits, but I got into a bit of a mess. She also said, Jan says she got the Jaden pendants. And good morning to Judith. And good morning to Angela, who's been trying to learn some Tamba embroidery. That sounds, I don't know what that is. You'll have to send me a picture. So as you can see, all I'm doing there is just stringing them on. But then I'm creating these kind of points within the necklace. So I'm not going to probably make it all today because we have got a lot to get through, but I will show you very simply how to make these kind of star kind of points on them. So when I'm coming to make my necklace, I'm popping 10 seed beads in between, and I'm doing the spacer, the marble agate, the spacer, and I'm running that down. I'd suggest maybe 5 or 6 of those runs until we're going to split the tiger tail. So we're going to use 2 lengths of the tiger tail, and then we're going to open it out. So I've used 5 seed beads here, then the spacer, another 5 seed beads, and then coming back through, I've done exactly the same, adding 10 in the middle, and that's the size that I've created that smaller point with. When it comes to the longer point, which I've done, and again, you could just have one point in the center of your necklace if you wanted to. Then I've changed it up a little bit. I've got 20 of those size 11 seed beads there. Then I've got 10 at the kind of towards the bottom point, coming back through the marble agate with the little space, the seed bead on the bottom. Gosh, that rain's making a lot of noise on my window. And then again, working back up, so 10 and 20, another 10 in between each of those, which is just going to space that out. So you can either do your points where you just make them small and come straight back through, or you can add a larger one. I think the shape works best if you pop this lovely marble agate in the middle as well. Pauline says I'm not on Facebook again, but she's found us on YouTube. Honestly, do not know what's going on Facebook. I did ask Kitty if she, because I don't have the access to certain settings, so she sorted it, or she tried to sort it out. And for me now, it looks like I'm running on Facebook, but of course, I've not got as many of you in as I usually do, and I'm only getting the YouTube comments, so I don't know what's happening. I am on YouTube for definite, on Totally Beads YouTube page and Natalie Patton Jewellery as well, so hopefully you can find me there. When I finish this live, of course, I'll share it to the Facebook page as well. So if you are a Facebook user and you're not on YouTube and you can't quite find us, I'll be with you soon. Carol says, oh my goodness, or OMG, black sky, strong winds and hailstone now in Essex. We had hailstone before, and I can guarantee it will be like this just until the school run, and it will continue during that as well. It's, you know, usually after the holidays, the Easter holidays, we start thinking of like kind of summer uniforms. It's far too cold for it. Where's the spring? Good morning to Yolanda. I hope you're well. Okay, shall we start doing this, and then I will I'll show you quickly how to do the bracelets as well. Let me pop those down. So I'm going to start off with 2 lengths of Tigertail. I'm going to have one length larger length than the other. So I'm going to have about 55 centimeters, and the 55 centimeter one is going to be this one that runs around the inside of the collar. I think that would look really pretty as just a necklace without those points personally, but it is just easy bead stringing, so I thought, well, at least I'll change up the design and then you've got the option there. So this one in the middle, I'm going to do it 55 centimeters, and then I'm going to do another one which is going to make the points, so that's going to come back into the main bit when I finish those points. I'm using about 90 centimeters of that. I would say double this one just to make sure you've got plenty, but rather than have loads left over, I mean, there's going to be enough in your kit. So I'm going to do this at about 55, and then the second length is going to be about 90 centimeters. So to start off, I'm going to take my 2 ends of Tigertail, and I'm going to add on my findings. I'm going to use the blue marble for this. I will show you them all because I really want you to see how gorgeous and different those colours are. They're like little worlds. So they've been dyed the most beautiful, bright, vivid colours. Some have got like kind of a clear transparency to them. Really nice, bold, strong coloration. And like, I mean, look at the patterns on that one. Can you see the bands on there? Marble agate tends to have like a lovely kind of bands running through it, so it gives it that marble effect. And your green is the same. You can see there. I mean, that one almost looks like malachite. Really, really pretty. So I'm going to use the blue. So I'm going to use the silver findings. So let me just find my crimp beads and my calottes. We've had March winds and April showers, says Jan. Yeah. Mina's saying she's loving the simple necklace and bracelet. There's lots that you can do with this. So as I say, you just get your kits and then play along and experiment with it. You don't have to do this design, but you're getting more than enough in your kit to do so. So I'm going to take my 2 ends of the Tigertail. Camille, I'm pleased that you're back commenting because I've got lots of counting to do today, so you'll be able to count along with me. I'm going to thread both of my ends of the Tigertail up to that calotte. And then I'm going to add on 2 of my crimp beads. So just sliding them onto both ends. You might find staggering those lengths of Tigertail helps get it through. I'm going to slide that right up to the end. So I'm going to flatten my Tigertail together and just pop in a little bit of pressure just to make those crimp beads go from round to flat. If you've got a crimper, you can use the crimping tool and that will kind of curl it over. Then I'm just going to slide my calotte up so my crimp beads are sitting inside of it. I'm going to gently close it over with my fingers, and then I'm going to press down fairly firmly just to close that over fully. Now you can string onto one end and then bring your other end through. At the moment, it doesn't matter whether you're adding them onto the shorter length or the longer length. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with one of my little spacer beads. So I'm going to take both ends of the You don't have to start with a spacer. You could start with your seed beads if you wanted to, but I think popping on the spacer just makes that fit nicely just underneath. I'm then going to take 10 of my seed beads and I'm going to slide them on too. Have done a few in advance to speed me up. So I'm taking both ends of the tiger tail, both lengths. And you can see those size 11 seed beads are nice and small and delicate, but that tiger tail is still going to fit through really easily. Then once I've got my spacers on, I'm going to my seed beads on, I'm going to add one spacer, one marble agate and one spacer. Let's just line it up, making sure they are both going through. So I've just created, it's just one strand essentially because I'm using two lengths, but it's going through the same. Then I'm going to add on another 10 spacers, another 10 seed beads, sorry. So I've got my Toho size 11s, they're all fairly uniform in size. If you don't want to sit and count out your seed beads, you can measure them if you want to. So you could get a ruler and you could say, right, I'm going to add about an inch on, or whatever length you want. It really doesn't matter, but I think it looks nice if you've got that kind of even separation. And of course, we want to make our necklace symmetrical, so we want it looking fairly similar on both sides. I'm not counting at the moment, Camille. No, I will do soon. I've already added the first few on, so just bear with me. And you can count in whatever language you want to. So spacer, marble agate and spacer. We literally would be here for the full like 40 minutes if I was to be making this and counting them all out and making it in full, which would be okay, but I want to do the bracelet as well with you today. So bringing that through and pushing that up, and then with the next 10 seed beads. Morning Teresa, I hope you're well. We've all just been discussing how awful the weather has been in most of the UK. I think it just depends whereabout you are, to be honest, because I believe in certain places, maybe more down south, it's been really warm and we've had like a bit of a heat wave. But up north where I am, it's like gale force winds. So I'm just going to repeat that pattern. I would tend to do this about 5 or 6 times. So I've got 6 of those marble agate on, and that just gives me a length that I quite like. But if you would like this to be more of kind of like a choker style, then you can make this a little bit smaller. Or of course you could add an extension chain onto the back of it as well if you want. The findings that I use ensure that you've got that availability to add on that extender if you want to. So I'm just gonna run my tiger tail, my second length, through those 10 seed beads, and that's if I've counted correctly. But they look roughly about the same. Getting shot. Once I've done my little kind of cluster or section of 10 seed beads, I'm going to go through the spacer, adding on a marble agate bead in 8mm and another spacer. So the spacer's just going to frame that lovely marble agate. So this will speed me up. If I'm sitting here now counting, I don't think it'd be the most entertaining of tutorials. Just make sure though that you are going through all of those seed beads. Teresa is catching a train to Florida for her 3-day vacation. How lovely! Wonder what the weather's going to be like. Lovely, I'd imagine. Okay, through the seed bead, through the spacer, until I've added on the length that I want to. So I'm having one longer length. You could use 2 long lengths, but I prefer to have one longer than the other, and then I can kind of differentiate between the two when I'm making those points in terms of what's staying around the frame of the neck, and then what the points are gonna, which length of tiger tail the points are gonna come down on. That just means it sits better, it's not twisting. So once I've added on my length, I'm going to push them all up so I've got them nice and close to that clot. And then I'm going to split my ends. So I've got my longer one coming out the bottom. Just check that's correct. So yeah, I've got a longer length, which is this one. And that's going to come towards the bottom. And then I've got this one continued. So I'm going to add another 10 seed beads. Let's pour plenty out onto the desk. Really lovely colour. So I'm adding 10 onto this section. Give that a little check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Jan says she made the Brianna necklace too. Did it work okay? Did you enjoy it? That was the one I couldn't speak to you on, wasn't it? And then on this bit here, I'm going to add my first point, and I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller. So I'm going to add 5 of my seed beads. Then I'm going to add a spacer bead. Oh, they're not my spacers, they are my crimps. Let me get my 3mm spacers out. So I'm going to add 1 spacer after the 5 seed beads, and then I'm going to add another 5 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you can use your tiger tail as a needle just to pick them up off the mat, or you can pick them up and thread them on, whichever you think is easiest. So they're both coming out of the spacer, then splitting off. So 10 up here, 5 spacer, 5. And then I'm going to add another of my spacer beads onto the long length. Add on my lovely marble agate. And then I'm going to add on another little seed bead. And now when I come back up, I'm going to miss the seed bead. Let's get myself a little bit better in shot. So I'm going to miss that seed bead and just come back up through the marble agate and the spacer bead as well. But then I'm not going to come back up through any more of the seed beads. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push up with my finger and my thumb. So I want that marble agate sitting close to the top. And then when I pull through that tiger tail, it's nice and firm, there's no gaps, and I've created that first little point. I then just need to add on 5 more of the seed beads. Another spacer and 5 more of my seed beads. So you can change the size of these whatever you want. I've just Camille saying, is that rain you can hear on the window? Yep. I just want to make sure that it's the same on each side, so my point is nice and even. If I've got longer, it's going to sit, which could be nice, in more of that shape. I want it to be a point, so I want it that shape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring both of the tiger tail pieces back together, and I'm going to add my spacer bead over both of them. Another marble agate over both of them, and another spacer bead over both of my tiger tail ends. And then when I pull them all up taut, that's going to create my first little point. Then if I'm going to make the larger point, I'm going to take the longer length again, but this time I'm going to add 20 seed beads on. So that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. See, I find it easier to just pick them up sometimes. Just give that a little count just to check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm then going to add on a spacer, and then going to add on 10 seed beads. Don't want to go on because I'm trying to rush, and the quicker I go, the more they fly everywhere. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to add my spacer, another one of my marble agates, and another seed bead. Pushing it up nice and firm and nice and close. Don't worry, this is going to pull through in a little while. I'm then going to miss the seed bead at the bottom and just go through the marble agate and the spacer bead. And as I bring that longer length through, I'm going to push up with my finger and pull. And then again, working backwards, so I've got the same amount on the other side of the point. So for the larger point, I'm going for 10 seed beads. I'm then going to add the spacer on. That's just going to give it that little kind of punctuation, I suppose, in between. A little bit of extra shimmer, and then 20 to bring it back up. Reading your comments and counting at the same time. So I've then got 20, spacer, 10, spacer, marble agate, spacer, sorry, seed bead, back up through, without missing that seed bead, back up through the marble and the spacer, 10, spacer, 10, 20 of my seed beads. So that's going to give me a much larger point. For this section here, if you want to, you can pop your stoppers on just to prevent anything falling off. I've got seed beads everywhere. For the middle section, I've got 10 seed beads on the main frame of my necklace on the shorter length. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I'm going to have my spacer. Again, this is on the shorter length. Look at the banding on that one, absolutely gorgeous. And another spacer, and then another 10 seed beads. So then to bring those two together, this will sit in the middle, like so. And I will bring them both through the spacer and then continue that pattern. So you might just want 3, so you might want to do another small tail there. So I'll bring a finished one in and I'll show you the count with that again. That will then join onto this one, and when they're pulled taut, I'm going to get those to start sitting and coming out. David says it's been really windy and torrential here in Harold Wood, and he's also been redoing some bracelets, tubular and crystal netted, to include an extender chain and a lobster clasp because of wrist variables. He says this looks very interesting. So I am going to just pop my stopper on there because I will come back to that. So you could see you could just do a straight strung necklace or bracelet if you wanted, and just have it like this, and this would look, I think, really, really lovely. But if you want to do the points, and you want to do the points like mine, I've added onto the main section 10 of the seed beads in little clusters until we get to this first point. So I've gone 5, spacer 5, and then my lovely marble agate, and then back up at the same sides. This has got 20 seed beads, then my spacer, then 10, coming back up. And then for this point, I've just ran it back down through the middle. So it does sit really lovely. All I would suggest is make sure these are symmetrical. And I do think when we're making a design like this, it's nice to have an odd number so you've got that central point. So this will be in the middle of the neckline, and then these points will kind of peak down, and then again just making sure you've got the same size running back through. So that is your necklace. When it comes to your memory wire bracelet, you're going to get this lovely coil, which is a little bit like a slinky, and this is the 0.6 that I'm using. I think this one in my kit is a 0.6. I know the one you're getting will be, and it's just a little bit easier to turn the loops, but it is a tempered steel, so it retains its shape and it's got that memory to it. So what I would do is I would decide how long I want to make that coiled bracelet. If I show you some of the ones I've done earlier, this is your green colourway, your yellow, and I've put on my little bust here the blue. So I'll just slide that off. So it makes a really lovely coiled shape, and you can add as many of those as you want. They might look really lovely if you wanted to make a big full cuff and you wanted to use more of those coils. But for this design, I've used 5 coils. So a coil is one full circle. So I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then where you'll see that half circle comes, I'm going to kind of match that there. So use some heavy duty cutters for this. It is strong. You'll find it's really easy to cut just using some heavy duty cutters. But if I was using like chain nose pliers, not chain nose pliers, flush cutters, or jewellery cutters, you'll find what happens is as I try and cut through that tempered steel, it will start to put little dinks, little nicks in my cutters there, and then that's going to make them blunt but also a bit rubbish to use. So I've taken my 5 coils, and I'm just going to make sure that they're not twisted as they are here. So I'm just going to pull it out so it looks like a slinky, and just make sure that they're all running nicely. And I'm just going to hold it by the end, and I'm going to turn a little loop. Now you can use your bail step pliers if you want with this, or you can use your round nose, it really doesn't matter. But I'm going to turn that loop in the same direction as that coil's going in, so you can see it's moving down towards this way. I'm not going to fight against it going backwards, I'm just going to move with the direction of it. So I'm going to choose what size I want the loop. I'm going to do as I usually would, so making sure it's flush, and I'm just using my thumb to kind of push against it to make that coil. Now it's going to go into that little shape, so if I want to straighten it back out, I'm putting my pliers back in my round nose, and I'm just going to give it a little bend to straighten it up, And then again, just to make sure it's nice and closed. So if you want to, you can coil that circle, that little loop, all the way round on itself. The drilling has started next door, I do apologise. And then just bend it out. You just want to make sure that there's no sharp little bits. So if you do find you need to kind of cut it, tweak it, you can do. I think I am going to just cut that off and start it again. Just to show, cover. Anytime you're cutting, cover it, because it is sharp. We don't want it to fly off. So I'll show you that again. I'm just going to take the coil in the direction that it's going, make it nice and straight and flush, curl it all the way round till it meets itself, pliers back in just to push it out and to make that little loop. David's asking, with the bracelet, is it possible to put an extender bracelet on for people with different wrist sizes? With this, it's memory wire, so it will kind of stretch out as long as you can kind of get it over your knuckles. You couldn't really put an extender on this one because if you're doing this design, you could do an extender if you were to just cut say one of your loops, and then it would I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. So you could do one coil, add 2 loops on the end, and then you could put your extender chain on there, and then it would open up and go wider, if that makes sense. So now I'm just going to hold my bracelet, or my memory wire, which is soon to be a bracelet, and you can hold this whichever way you want. I'm going to have it so that memory wire is towards me, that curl, and I'm going to hold it in its coiled shape. I don't want to pull it out of shape too much, so I'm just going to hold it in my hands like this, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to thread on 14 of my seed beads. So I will, again, if it's easier to work away from you, towards you, whatever you want, I'll probably hold it away from me, but I'm going to hold it in my fingers, and I'm just going to slide on 14 of my seed beads. You can add however many you want on, but I quite like having the 14 on. I'm going to let them slide down, fall around the bottom of the coil, and then going to add on my spacer, my beautiful marble agate, and my spacer, and then another 14 of my seed beads, and I'm just going to repeat that pattern. So 14 of the seed beads, spacer, marble agate 8mm, and spacer, back with the 14 of my seed beads. And as I put them on, I'm just going to start sliding them round, and the more and more you put on, the more they will just kind of naturally fall to where you need them to go, all the way around the coils, and then they will butt up to the end like this. So I'm going to keep going with that design for the next 10 minutes, and I'm going to show you how to finish that off. This is one I've already started, and I've started doing the mix on this. So I've put my seed beads on. I'm going to go for my spacer, marble agate and spacer, and then 14 of my seed beads. And I find if I put on the same amount of seed beads, they do create, when it is complete, a really nice kind of pattern when worn, how they will kind of splay. That's okay, David. Any questions you've got, always ask away. I'll do my best to answer. And it's also just what I think. You might find actually there is a way of doing it. You need to do it this way. But I would say the joy of using the memory wire is you can use it for lots of things. But if you're using it like this coil here, it will open up. But if you wanted to have that extender, I've done one before as well where I've made it like a sliding loop, so you can extend it out and you don't need to have any extra materials. You can just do 2 loops with the memory wire. I might try and see if I can show you how to do that as well. So let me count my seed beads here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think. 11, 12, 13, 14. Then I'm going to go with my spacer. So I'm just sliding them around. I do find that popping. In fact, what colour did I do after blue? We went green, didn't we? So I'm going to use the gold spacers. Open up my strand a second. Look at the colour of that one. So really easily just sliding them on until I've got the length that I want. And I'm going to finish for now with my seed beads. So it would have been gold following this. So let me get these lovely Tohos out. Okay, so I'm not going to do all that I would need. I would need to just add that extra coil on to finish, but for time's sake, I will pretend that I've gone all the way round with my seed beads, finishing on my seed beads. Just going to give that a little cut. So when I've got to the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend my memory wire. Now I'm going to bend it back on itself just to make sure that those seed beads don't slide off. I'm then going to trim again, so I've got about 1 centimetre. Again, make sure you're always covering any of those bits so they don't fly away. I'm going to keep my nail on the end of that, and again I'm going to move in the direction that that coil memory wire is already heading in. So I'm not putting too much pressure on it, not fighting against it. I'm just making that little loop to close off and to finish. My seed beads have started to slip, so I'm just going to push them back down again. Make sure that that loop is fully turned in, and then that would be my coiled bracelet. You can, if you want to, dangle little charms off those loops. So if you've got a little head pin, you could add maybe a little dangle of your marble agate just to finish that off if you wanted. It's a really straightforward make, but yeah, as I say, when you're using the memory wire, it just coils up your arm. So I'll put a few of them on so you can see that effect. So they do open up, David, and then kind of spring back into shape, and they look really nice. So obviously if I'm using the same amount of seed beads in between, when worn they do tend to kind of line up in that lovely pattern, and you could have them going all the way up your arm. You could use them as full as you wanted to. If you did just want to make, you know, you could use this as one, just one bracelet. I think this one is a little bit thicker, so I'll use this coil from the one before. What I would suggest is cut more than one circle. So you can see where this circle, this coil's coming back here. I'm going to cut maybe a little bit longer, so they're not perfectly lined up. I've got that little extra on each side there. And then what you can do is you can turn your loops as you would. Again, you know, this 0.6 is a really nice size to work with. Thread on the beads as you want it to be. Turn your loop on the other side. And then you can, of course, then put your, like if you wanted, you could have it as just a bangle, or you could add a finding and extender onto that. Obviously, it will open up. Another way of doing it, I would have probably cut it a little bit longer really to show you this, but this technique works as well. When you've cut your loop, your coil and your loop, cut it to be like 1.5. And then what I would do is I would bend those loops. So I'm going to bend one down in one direction, so it's going down, and then the other is going to go in the opposite way, like so. And then what you can do is you can attach them onto each other. So open up that loop a little bit just to get the wire hooked inside. Make sure it's fully closed again. I would have cut this a little bit wider, so 1.5 coils, but you can also then do it that way to make it smaller and larger. You see, so I'd put my beads on or my charms or whatever I wanted, and then you would have to, if it was cut longer, it would open up a lot wider, but you could also wear it to make it smaller. So there's lots of different things you can do with the memory wire. I will be doing some memory wire again in a couple of weeks' time, but again using a completely different method with it. So I hope you like them. I do really just wanted to show off these beautiful, beautiful beads. Your Zivia or Zavia kit today is going to be enough to make a bracelet and a necklace with the pointed design. They are £8.50 per kit, and you can choose from the blue, the green, or the yellow marble agate. I hope you enjoyed it. I really wanted to get as much in, and I'm quite pleased I've managed to squeeze a few different techniques into the hour. I know I didn't make the full necklace with you, but hopefully you can see those steps. And again, you can play around with the size of it if you wish to. Rachel says, lovely mix. Thank you very much. Jan says, love this. Thank you. I look forward to getting my kits. Tina says, so pretty. Judith says, very pretty as well. That's very, very kind of you. I'm going to be back with you on Friday. I have got a design in mind that I've done and I've made my samples, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to switch up the schedule a little bit. We will see. So I'm not going to give you any sneaky peeks just yet. Oh, thank you, Linda. That's very kind of you. And I might see some of you on Sunday as well. So we've got the Haydock Beads Up North Bead Fair. Totally Beads will be there. I'm going to do my best to get there as well. So if you can make it, come and say hello. I'll probably be just making pretties, but I hope you all have a really lovely week. Stay safe in this wonderful stormy weather that we're having, and I'll see you all very soon. Take